Today, my guest you've seen across WCW, Ring of Honor, WWE. You may remember him as Akio or even Jimmy Wang Yang. Jimmy, how are you, sir?
Hi, Brian. It's your boy, Jimmy Wang Yang. Actually, no, I'm James Young today. The book dropped today, James Young's time. Today's crazy. I never thought I'd be like an author. So it's kind of crazy. It dropped on Amazon and audiobook and Spotify and Apple. So today's kind of crazy.
Congratulations on that. I know it's a big step to be able to do something like that.
It's kind of like therapy, really. Like, I can't believe, like, start writing this down. I'm like, man, my life has been pretty crazy, so, like, I feel like I have a lot of trauma built in. So I was like, I guess it was kind of therapy writing this out and listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but it's kind of crazy. But, like, yes. How you doing today? You doing good?
I can't complain. I'm in Indiana, so this weather's hot, cold, rain, snow, everything. I get everything every day, so.
Yeah, how about those Colts, baby?
I know. Let's see.
The Pacers last year, I used to love old school Pacers, Reggie Miller, and them and the Knicks and stuff. So, like, yeah. So
it's been a stressful 365 days.
Yeah.
For any kind of sports fan in Indiana.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit. What hooked you get into professional wrestling at a young age?
So, like, the first time I saw Sting, that was my dude, So, like, I didn't really read comic books, or like I couldn't afford to go to the movies, but I grew up in Atlanta, like, very poor kid, and we had like two channels. I didn't have cable, so I guess I had PBS and TBS. So, like, I had WCW Saturday night, and Atlanta Braves baseball. Like, so that was two things I loved, baseball and wrestling. But when I saw Sting, that was my hero. Like, instantly saw him, I was like, oh my God, that's my Superman, So, like, Sting is the one that got me hooked at, like, a very early age, like, as long as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
I loved him, and I just remember, and also there's a memory that when I went to my first WCW Saturday night taping at the Cobb County Civic Center, like, I was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I'm at wrestling. And, like, music hits, I'm running to the barricade, stretching my hand out, like, please touch me, And then Sting finally came out, and I did the same thing. I just stayed at the barricade the whole time. And, like, I said, Sting, I love you. I love you. And they gave me a high five. I was like, oh my God, he touched me. I ain't never washing this hand ever again, So, like, I was hooked when I saw Sting. And, like, yeah, that's what got me hooked to wrestling is Sting, So.
When did you decide that this was something you were going to actively pursue, and was wrestling schools and things of that nature available in your area at that time?
So, like, my sophomore year of high school, like, you're about to graduate, like, a few years you're graduating school, So, like, it was, hey, what are you going to do after school, like, after high school? Like, I wasn't the smartest kid. There was, like, no way I'm going to college for grades, but I was really good athlete. So I played all the sports in high school: baseball, basketball, football, and wrestling. Um, but that time was the time of the Monday Night Wars, and wrestling started going crazy, and I just was obsessed with wrestling. But I was like, man, like, I got an offer to play baseball in college, like, it's like, but, like, what do I want to do after high school? It's like, man, baseball is cool, like, that'd be an awesome profession, but, like, there's nothing, it wouldn't be cooler than being a professional wrestler. Like that's, like, I want to become a professional wrestler after high school, and then, just, you know, things happen, and it was just being in, cause I was obsessed with wrestling, in sophomore year, and then, like going into junior year, my best friend in high school, Ryan Forrester, we was on the basketball team together, and we just we used to do the backyard wrestling all the time. Like it's like after every weekend, every night doing backyard wrestling. And then so but he actually got kicked off the basketball team for grades. And then he started spending time at church, and there was like a local independent promoter there.
Mm-hmm.
And he became friends with Ryan, and Ryan's like, yeah, me and Jimmy, we love wrestling. We were obsessed with it. We do it in the backyard. And then that guy, that promoter invited Ryan to come train. And then I was like, oh snap, you got to go to train in professional wrestling. So then he went the first week, and then I followed him the next week, and then we started doing professional wrestling during high school. Yes.
What was your first impressions of getting into professional wrestling? Was it harder than what you thought?
So this situation was a little bit different. So it's kind of independence. It was at a bar in Atlanta called Good Old Days Wrestling. Like we're 17-year-olds. Like we really wasn't even supposed to be there, but this guy really found my friend attractive. I guess I'm not saying, but it's kind of bad saying now, but we're underage teenage boys at a bar wrestling with these older guys and all this kind of stuff. But like, so that was getting in there, like, because it's kind of crazy how fast everything went. Like we started training that week after on Monday. We had our first match that Friday, but but you know, it's from that backyard wrestling. We used to do it constantly, so we just had they told us a few of the secrets of professional wrestling, and like, yeah, you guys can have a match. You know, it's like what? You know, it's like okay, you know, this is awesome. You know, yeah. So that wasn't the difficult part. Like, but being a boy in a man's world,
Mm-hmm.
like it was just like going to a bar and we're teenagers. Like one of the crazy stories, like I remember meeting New Jack for the first time. I'm like marking out like, oh, New Jack. You know, we went to WrestlePalooza. I saw you jump off the balcony on Bam Bam Bigelow, and like, oh, this is so awesome. It's crazy, and totally marking out. And then later at night, everybody's drinking, having a good time. And then later that night, he stabbed somebody in the parking lot. I was like, whoa, this is kind of crazy, you know. So like, it's you know, that was kind of crazy. But then the hard part is actually after me and Ryan got signed to WCW and went to PowerPlant, and then that's when we met Paul Orndorff and Sergeant Buddy Lee Parker and all these dudes that are fucking jacked. You know, like it's like these are not independent wrestlers; these are like professional athletes, and then that torture down there was rough. You know.
How did the WCW deal come to be?
So we was wrestling in Atlanta at that bar. So WCW was going to do the first reality show, first Tough Enough kind of TV show. So Bischoff this was his idea to do New Tough Enough, or do a very first reality show, kind of like Tough Enough. So he sent Chris Kanyon out to go scout wrestlers, and they wanted guys at late teens, early 20s to do this reality show. So Kanyon went around a few places, but we were in Atlanta, you know, so like, just out a random weekend, the promoter called and said, hey, Jimmy, Ryan, you guys gotta be here, Saturday or Sunday, you know, Chris Kanyon is gonna come see you guys try out. I'm like, what? You know, Chris Kanyon's coming to see us wrestle? Like, oh no, okay, cool. Like, we're there, no problem. And so all of a sudden, like, we head to the bar, you know, like, and then I got to the bar, and that's the first time I met AJ Styles. Like, AJ Styles is there, and Jason Cross, and myself, and Ryan Forrester. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna put a match. Like Jimmy and AJ, you're gonna be a team versus Jason and Ryan. Cool, bet, you know, and it's gonna be awesome, you know. And so we're getting ready, and all of a sudden, Kanyon comes. But Kanyon doesn't come alone. He brings like a whole WCW entourage. I'm like, oh, snap. It's like, oh, there's a Ron Reese, a Disco Inferno. Like, it's like a Sick Boy and all these guys come in. I'm like, oh my God, this is surreal, but I'm trying to not mark out too bad, but like I'm
Mhm.
such a WCW fan. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh my God. And then it's like, okay, so you guys do y'all's match. And it's like, me and AJ Styles versus Ryan and Jason Cross. Like, we just did probably the craziest tag team match ever. Like, if that was on video, man, I don't know, that's some hidden gem right there, but, afterwards, after the match got done, Canyon and the WCW guys like, oh yeah, that was cool. You guys do a lot of flips. Yeah, of course we do. I say, oh, so, and then they said, hey, we're going to across the street to another bar called American Pie. You guys want to come hang out? I'm like, hell yeah, of course you want to hang out. But I didn't tell them. I said, I'm 17 years old. I was like, I don't know if I can get in
Mhm.
over there. So, so, oh, just come with us, and it's like Raven and Chris and like, oh, WCW wrestlers, like, you guys, pass the line, go in and hanging out with them all day, like, and then all of a sudden, like, I was talking to Chris and I was like, hey, Chris, you know, we met DDP. Like, we didn't go into this. I used to stalk DDP. It's like a crazy story, Halloween. We'll go into that in a minute, but like, so I told Chris, I say, hey, we know DDP. He's like, you do? Really? I said, yeah. We stalked him at Halloween. We stalked him every day. We helped put up those Christmas lights and all this kind of stuff. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And then Chris called DDP. Said, DDP, you know these kids? And he's like, oh yeah, I love those kids. They're my little monkey. He used to call us monkeys. Like, hey, little monkeys, come down here. So, um, so, and then that day went by, and then a few weeks later, Chris Canyon called us and called me and Ryan and said, hey, can you guys meet me at Crackle Barrel for breakfast? And it's like, hell yeah, we can, but we're still in school, so we skipped school to go eat breakfast with them. And had breakfast, and he's talking about wrestling, all that kind of stuff, and then that ended. Then like a few weeks later, he called me again and said, "Hey, Chris, Jimmy, I want to come to your work." I said, "I was a cook at Po Folks. I don't know if you remember that
Mhm.
restaurant, but it was like more of a, I don't know if it hit Indiana, but it was like Southern restaurant."
Mhm.
And so he came, but then he also brought another entourage. Glacier came. I was like, Glacier came. I was like, oh snap, this is awesome. So I said, bro, I'm gonna make y'all the best meal ever. So country fried steak, some turnip greens, some like sweet potato pie, some fried okra, some fried green tomatoes. Run out there and they had a great, everybody there recognized them. They had I cooked the best meal possible, and then afterwards, Chris sat me down and said, "Hey, Jimmy, we're going to hire you and Ryan and AJ and Jason." I was like, "Oh my god!" I'm like, "Really? Like that is awesome!" Like I'm this 17-year-old kid, a
Mhm.
cook, and all of a sudden, have those WCW wrestlers there, and then they say, "Oh, we're going to assign you to WCW." I'm like, "This is crazy!" Like this is, and then like I turned 18 in May.
Mhm.
I had my first contract in June of 1999, so that made me the youngest wrestler ever to sign to WCW. So I had my contract at graduation, and that was crazy. So
What was your first impressions of the power plant?
first impressions like this place is nice, like because I was
Mhm.
training at a bar slash wrestling place, like
Mhm.
this is the model for the performance center now. So this had 4 rings, had a gym in there, had just everything that you could need for wrestling. So and then like the first day we showed up, right? Like me and Ryan pulled in the parking lot, and we see 2 guys at the door. So we go up there, and it's Shane Helms and Shannon Moore. So they got hired for the same project. I'm like, oh, what's up? Like, hey, how you doing, Jimmy, Ryan? Bullshit. And so, okay, let's go in. Let's go meet Paul. If you're here to see meet Paul, he said, yeah, we're here to meet Paul too. So we try to go in, and they wouldn't let us in. It's like, you guys don't look like wrestlers. We're like 180 pounds or something. No, we're promised we're wrestlers, and we're here to meet Paul. But Paul Orndorff didn't show up that day. So we had to stand out there for a little bit, and then finally we walk in, and we're greeted by Sergeant Budley Parker. so, so, and then, he was like, "Oh, we're here to meet Paul." I said, "No, you're not." I'm like, mm, "Yeah, yes, we are." I don't know why you guys are here. Go stand in the corner. So we go stand in the corner, four of us, and then, and then I'm like, we're trying to break the ice with Shane and Shannon and Ryan, and I cut some jokes, and all of a sudden we're like laughing. And Bailey Parker looked over and said, "What the fuck are you guys laughing at? You guys laughing at us? You want to fucking try out? Let's have a fucking tryout." And then, yeah, and then they beat our ass for the next few hours, So first impression.
So after that, how was it training in the performance center? Because this was, like you said, not performance center, the power
I know.
plant. Sorry.
Gotta catch you on that one.
How was it training at the power plant? Because I don't think there was anything else like that at this point in time.
No, that's what I tell people. Like, the power plant turned me into a man. It's like I was a boy, and with that training, with those guys, with the trainer Bailey Parker, Paul Orndorff, I went from like being a teenage kid to like a grown ass man. So like that training was some serious business. It was like a normal job, 9 to 5. Monday through Friday. So what do you think you can do for wrestling for 8 hours of training? Like, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you just train, bump, 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 train, bump, bump, bump. So it was the hardest thing I've ever been through. Like I did the Japanese dojo. That was a piece of cake compared to the power plant. Yeah, but it was rough. I think they can't, they're, it's, you know, illegal to do some of the stuff they did to us back then, nowadays.
How long were you training at the power plant before you started working matches on TV?
So I was there the first time I got signed, did all everything. I was uh, doing everything I was told, and then in 4 months, I got fired. But like, because I understand why, but like now I do because of politics and all this kind of stuff. Like that's when we was part of Bischoff's project, and during that time, that's when Bischoff took a leave of absence, and Russo came in, and everything that was attached to Bischoff just, it didn't matter about how good I was or training wise, but I was associated with that project. So they fired us, or fired me, and like a whole bunch of guys. Um, and so I kind of took I took that really hard, So I thought I had my dream job. I'm a WCW wrestler. This is what I grew up on. I did everything they told me to do. I was there early, stay late, all that kind of stuff, and then I got fired, and I took it hard, and then I kind of went into hiding. And I was like, I didn't know what to do, 'cause I didn't really know what to do. So but I started to wrestle again, and then some reason I grew a big set of nuts, and I went back to WCW unannounced. I went in there, knocked on Paul Orndorff's doors, and he let me in and said, "Hey, Paul, I just want to come back and say, here's all my information. I'm ready when you need me. I'm ready." And I went back home, and then a week later, Paul called and said, "Hey, Jimmy, we need you for Saturday night." I'm like, "What?" Like, this is crazy, and say, "Yeah, we need you in Amherst, Massachusetts." I'm like, "Okay, I'll be there." But in my mind, it's like, where the fuck is Amherst, Massachusetts at? I've never even heard of that town, So it took me, I guess, about like 6 months into that contract to get that first booking for WCW Saturday night.
And how nerve wracking was that?
Oh my God, dude. So like it was so crazy. Just remember I'm 18,
Hmm.
so I've never traveled before. I traveled once, like before. One time my dad flew us to Vegas and one time, but I was with my parents. So like I get to the airport, I'm like, how do you check in? you know, like, I never checked in by myself, so like, okay. So I figured it out, like, checked in and then I get to the gate, so I don't even know where Amherst is, but I know it's not Boston. I'm flying into Boston, but like I started looking at the map. I'm like, Amherst is this way from Boston. So I'm like, oh no, how am I going to get there? Like, I don't know, and thank God for Shark Boy. Hell yeah, he saw me like, yeah, Jimmy, you're on this trip. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, do you know how you're gonna get there? I was like, bro, I don't know nothing. Like, I don't know. It's oh, come with me, So like, Shark Boy took care of me that first trip. Like, because even I got there, like, I'm too young to rent a car. Like too young. Like, I didn't have a credit card, so I couldn't check into a hotel either. So like, thank God for Shark Boy. So
So after that first initial WCW appearance, were you used more regularly during that
oh yeah.
time?
So what happened is, and then we get there to Amherst, and like, like, and when we get there, I was like, I'm still just such a mark, dude. Like, I'm like, this is my show growing up, So I walk into the back, and it's like, oh snap, there's the Armstrong brothers, like, there's the Viano 4 and 5, like El Dandy, Prince Ikea, like, oh man, all these you got Saturday Night guys, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, like, this is crazy, So and then but still, I'm so green in this business, I don't understand how everything works. I'm used to bar wrestling, so I'm
Hmm.
like, this is a TV production. I'm like, oh crap, what's going on? And then finally say, hey, go look at the board, like to see who you're wrestling, So I'm like looking at the board and I don't see my name, but I see a name that's similar to my name. So it's like, you know, it's James Carson, but James Carson, that's my middle name. So I'm like, that's got to be me, right? Carson, like James Carson, And then, so then again, versus Dale Torborg, the Demon. I'm like, oh, sweet, yes, like I know Dale. We're trainees at the power plant. Like we're friends. I'm like, oh man, it's awesome. I get to wrestle somebody I know my first match. And then Jimmy Hartson, producer, and I say, hey, can I go by Yun Yang instead of James Carson? That's like my nickname and like a wrestling name. So, yeah, yeah, Yun Yang versus the Demon, Dale Torborg. And then like I'm like it's so real. Kind of don't know what's going on, but then me and Dale go out there and like we I thought we did great. So it was like it's awesome. I was there for enhancement, so I tried to make him look like $1 million. And then, afterwards, they liked it a lot. They said, hey, like, you guys are going to be the main event for the TV show. Like, I was like, what? My first Saturday night, I'm in the main event, you know? So then afterwards, they liked what I did. So then they got invited to the next set of tapings. And then, then that's when the idea of 3 count Young Dragons started, like, cause, they had Kaz Hayashi there.
Hmm.
They had me there, and then they had like, man, that other guy's really good too. Jamie Noble, like, he's really good, but we just need to put a mask on him and make it like the Young Dragons. And then they made the Young Dragons, and then they say, oh well, we need you guys for Monday Night Nitro next week. And I'm like, oh my god, dude, this is so crazy. Like last year I used to throw Nitro parties, at my house, and I was dressing up as these guys. So, any chance I got, I just one crazy story. It's like we had career day at high school, and I totally was like, man, I'm dressing up as Sting. Any chance I got, I get to dress up as Sting. So like, so face paint, trench coat, and this is like time of was it trench coat, the shooting that happened, like, back then.
Hmm.
And I walking into school as dressed as Sting, and I just remember somebody yelling out, "It ain't Halloween, freak!" "No, it's career day. I'm a staying pro wrestler," So so it was just so crazy that stuff was happening so fast for me.
When did you feel that WCW was starting to get behind you guys when they did the Dragons and then putting you on Nitro, and how fun was that? Like you were just saying, like it seems like everything was happening really fast for you in WCW.
Yeah, really fast, and thank God for Kaz Hayashi and Jamie Noble, and even Shane Helms and Shannon Moore and Evan Courageous, because I was just a kid. So, but those guys, are older, and like they would push these matches and push me, and like, let's go out there and you know kill it. Let's go show them what we have. And like all those guys around me kind of pushed me at the same time and trying to do our best. And you know, people started noticing and started getting featured more, and then the pay-per-view matches and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty awesome. But
When hold on, what was I trying to say? When did you feel what was some of your favorite WCW moments? I know a lot of people probably tell you what theirs is, but what are some times that meant the most to you personally?
so the one match that meant the most to me was that first one on
Hmm.
WCW Saturday Night. So that's because that's what I grew up on. That was like really, I'm a poor half Asian white trash guy from Austin. So I never expected anything. I just get the Saturday WCW Saturday Night, like that was my goal,
Hmm.
and and I did that, and then I was like, oh, that like I don't think I would, if that was my first and last match ever, I'd be happy, but like
Hmm.
that was like the biggest goal to be on WCW Saturday Night, and that happened. And then just everything after that was just like gravy, like it's
Hmm.
like icing on the cake, like, oh my God, the next Saturday night, then now you're going to become a full time character on
Hmm.
WCW night, Nitro, and then the Thunder, and then the New Blood Rising, and then these other pay per views, and then okay, now you guys are going to be on Starcade, Stargate, and we got this ladder match. You guys, I was like, Starcade, I think of Starcade, I think of Sting and Hogan, I
Hmm.
think of all growing up, Flair and the Four Horsemen and all that stuff. I'm like, what is going on? My life this is crazy, like on Starcade, like that's, was just, everything was just so surreal, dude. Like, and but all those matches are important and all that kind of stuff, but the one that sticks out most to me is just that first one, so
Hmm.
like, those matches with 3 count, we had thousands of matches on and off TV. Like they kind of all just kind of blend together, So like, but the one that sticks out is that first one.
Was there anything that did not come to fruition that you guys were told was going to happen, or for you specifically before WCW closed?
Mm, I just remember that, like a few weeks before that last Nitro, I just remember we had a meeting with Eric Bischoff, and he told us cruiserweights that we are now going to be the feature acts of WCW. We're going to push these younger guys like the Yellow Style, and that's kind of like the pre X division
Hmm.
that happened in TNA. So it's like that we started changing. Like I don't think we started a certain style of wrestling that's now in 2025. But it kind of started uh, with Young Dragons a 3 count, but like I don't think we changed the business. Like, well, we
Hmm.
changed the. I guess we did change the business because we changed the people that ran the companies and said we rather have these younger guys that are going to go kill themselves for us. You know, we're
Hmm.
going to use these guys instead of guys that don't even want to come to work. So like
Hmm.
so we started the whole X cruiserweights and the X division and
Hmm.
everything what you see like in a lot of modern day wrestling kind of started. then I
When WCW closed, was there already conversations for what they wanted to do? Like when WWE bought it, were you included in those conversations on these were talents we were going to pick up and what were they going to do with you guys?
yeah. So that last Nitro, like it was the craziest night in wrestling. I think like that I've been involved with for sure. Like the
Hmm.
WWE bought WCW. Like I'm so young, I'm looking, I'm like, oh my gosh, awesome spring break. I'm having fun with my friends, and then all of a sudden, like the TV show starts and Vince McMahon comes on, and I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy, And then during that day, I found out they picked up my contract. So I'm like, man, I still got a job, I'm part of WCW. And then I saw Shane McMahon come out. I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest angle of all time.
Hmm.
WWE versus WCW, Vince versus Shane. I'm like, man, and I'm going to be part of this. They tell me they picked my contract up. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like this is going to be awesome. Like so. And then reality hit me that day, so I was super excited about the angle, and they picked up my contract. And then I went to the back, like in the back, and I just saw all these people crying. I just didn't realize that like half or 90% of these people here just lost their jobs and their livelihood. I was like, oh man, that's wow. I was excited about the angle, but then in reality, I'm like, man, these guys, people lost their jobs, so like it's kind of crazy. But then we went home, and then a few weeks later, we all us WCW guys had a meeting with JR, in downtown Atlanta at the Ritz Carlton, and then he was like, "Oh, welcome to the team. We have some big plans for WCW, the rebrand and the invasion." I was like, man, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm ready, dude. Like, this is crazy. Like, like I thought I was gonna be part of that, and then everybody knows how that angle worked out and fizzled out, So like,
Hmm.
and then sat at home for a few more weeks, and then then say, Jimmy, we just did open up developmental in Cincinnati. You might be there for 2 weeks or a year, but I suggest you move there. I was like, all right, I'm there, So on my way to Cincinnati, and I was supposed to be there for a year, and ended up 20 years there. So,
So how did you feel going from being on Nitros and Thunders to WWE developmental?
so like I was just 19 years old, just living life. So like
Hmm.
I'm getting paid to be a professional wrestler. So like this is cool, It's like, but we was doing Nitro Thunders and Starcade, and
Oh
also
yeah.
we go to Cincinnati, and then they said we gotta go to this, the facility, and it's in down. Take a left, and you go into warehouses, and it's down in the third building down on the left. I'm like, yeah, this ain't WCW, So it's like, but so and then we went to a warehouse, and then that life started, So
So how was it getting to Cincinnati, meeting Les Thatcher, and then training in the HWA?
yeah, so I just my first memory of HWA is when they had that True Life. I want to be a wrestler,
Hmm.
So and then met Shark Boy at the power plant. I'm like, you're a Shark Boy, you want it, whatever, and then he's from up that area close to Cincinnati, so and that's the only person I really knew up there. But we go in there and meet all the guys, and a lot of the WCW guys were there. So like it was like kind of our brotherhood already there. And then meeting the HWA guys, the meeting the old man Les, so like the old school guys. So like, uh, but then the training started, and like it was nothing like the power plant, but like it was good training. Les was taught me a lot about psychology in the wrestling business, so he did teach me a lot. 'Cause I was just a high spot guy for this Young Dragons thing. So like, but it was really good. I needed that training from Les Thatcher and HWA.
How was the WWE developmental system then for people that don't know what that was because everything's a performance center now?
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't like the power plant. And, it had two rings in there. The space was not as big. Like the walls were real close. but we'd go there. It's kind of like Monday through Friday, thing,
Hmm.
9 to 5. Do our training there, do our training at the gym, and then we'd all have all these spot shows all over the tri-state. I think it's called the
Hmm.
tri-state area. So like Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, some more northern Ohio, so. But they kept us busy, training 4 or 5 days a week, 3, 4 shows a weekend, so.
No, during your time in HWA, was there any talks of you going to the main roster, like what they wanted to do with you, or was this strictly during this time just training, getting you acquainted to maybe what the WCW, WWE style was, or what they were wanting from you?
Yeah, and that time is so crazy because we had WWE, WCW, and also ECW got bought. So it's like they had one roster, and also they absorbed the 2 other companies. So like it was like so many wrestlers, and at the time they didn't have 2 different shows. They didn't have Raw and SmackDown, so it was kind of just a lot of training, and it's like just so many guys just got lost in the shuffle. Like it,
Hmm.
and like it's there was no promises. It's just like it was you guys train, and if something comes up, we'll pull you up and all that kind of stuff. But I just was just doing the training, wrestling on the weekends, and all that kind of stuff, and we're just doing what I could control. So I was like, we're just doing what we're told and all that kind of stuff. So I never really had a conversation with somebody say, "Oh yeah, we're going to take a look at you and bring you up to the main roster." Like the first people out of HWA was like Jamie Noble and Shannon Moore, and I got fired before that happened. So it's like then the first time, the second, first time, So like, but then they got the ball rolling, and then uh, other guys started to get opportunities and
Hmm.
stuff.
Is there any HWA stories that stand out? Because when I had Shannon Moore on, they were shooting billboards from the apartment complex and driving down the interstate and shooting guns out the window. It's a different time back then. It's a different time, but
Yeah, that's the thing. So, like I know I'm known for being a redneck on TV, but Jamie and Shannon, there's some real hillbilly rednecks right there, So, but like crazy stories is, there's a lot of crazy stories, like, when I moved up there, I was 19, so I got an apartment, a 2 bedroom apartment, and then I'm like, and everybody else were grown men, and they had houses and wives and other places. Like, hey, you guys come stay with me, So all of a sudden, I got easy money in my room. It's me and Johnny the Bull in the living room, Shannon Moore and Kazuyashi sharing another room, and then everybody would come over to our apartment and like have fun and pass out on the floor. So it was like a college dorm, basically, and those guys, you know, yeah, they were wild. It was a long time, But that's how I met my daughter's mom because she was a property manager, and these guys would be partying, hanging out, training, working out all together. I said, man, you guys, I gotta go. You guys too much testosterone in here. Like I gotta go see this girl over here. So I started spending time over there, and then you know.
so you were released during your time in HWA. How did going back to WWE come to be?
So really, that kind of ties into that girl I was starting to spend more time with. So then I started with All Japan Pro Wrestling, and I started going back and forth, and started to do really well over there. And then my daughter's mom, she got pregnant. So like and kind of going back and forth, she's pregnancy. Like I didn't know really how fatherhood was going to hit me. Like I just,
Hmm.
everybody has a kid. So whatever, it's kids. Like whatever. So there's one regret I have in life is that I chose wrestling when my daughter was almost about to be born. So I was at a tour over Japan, but like it's okay, I'll be back. It's like she's kind of due on the day after I get back. The day after. So we can time this to perfect world. I go over there and then I'll come home, and then the next day she'll have the baby. But my daughter was 2 weeks early, so like or a week early. So a week early, I'm on the phone with her during pregnancy. I'm like, this is crazy, So like, but it still hasn't hit me yet that I just had a kid,
Hmm.
So like, and then I finally got done with the tour and came back and I landed. and going up the escalator to see my girlfriend and the new kid and all that stuff. And all of a sudden, like my eyes hit my baby. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm just seeing my baby.
Hmm.
Then all of a sudden, that first hold of that baby, and you look in that face, I'm like, oh my, this is the biggest moment of my life. Like this is, I just reproduced, and like this is my baby. It's like, it's crazy. Like, I don't know how to explain it unless you have a kid would
Hmm.
understand. Like, it's like, oh my God, like this came my top priority. Like, this is my baby. So anyways, I'll go home and, I'm there for a week and then I have to go back to Japan. That was hard. That was like really, really hard for me.
Hmm.
That's, I got just met her and now I have to go to Japan for 2, 3 weeks. I don't know, it was 2 or 3 weeks, but like, and that trip back to Japan was so hard, and that tour was so hard for me, because of that connection I had with her, and I'm like, man, I got to do something, like this is I can't like wrestle sitting in a hotel just thinking about this baby the whole time, and then that's when I reached out back out to WWE, like I said, hey, like would you guys be interested if I come do a tryout or, I'd like to have another chance, and then they accepted the offer. They say, hey, yeah, can you make it that Baton Rouge, Louisiana, like next week? I'm like, hell yeah, I'm there. Boom. Plane ticket, go down there. And then, I had a match with Tommy Dreamer on Sunday Night Heat. And it was like the greatest 5 minute Sunday Night Heat match of all time. I'm just kidding. But it was really good. So I don't want to toot my own horn, but like, yeah, it was really good. And the next night was in New Orleans and I wrestled Rhino. And then they say, and then they say, oh yeah, we'd like you to come back. And then they, came back as a Keo with Tajiri and Ryan Sakota, so
So
that's kind of how.
did you just main roster from that point forward, or did they send you back to any kind of developmental?
No, like so we debuted at the pay per view in Baltimore. I
Hmm.
can't remember the name. It's like No Mercy or something. Like I was ready to go because I already put my time in, doing PowerPlant and HWA and Japan, all that kind of stuff. But Sakota, it was his first time
Hmm.
with the company, so he's from Los Angeles. They made him move to Louisville for OVW. And I remember getting a call and say, "Hey, Jimmy, you mind? Cincinnati, hour and a half away from Louisville. You mind going down there and working with Ryan to get your chemistry down?" So I went down there to try to work on our chemistry, as a tag team. But and then he was down there for I don't know what he did. I think he did do the training down there.
Hmm.
But then we got put on the road. We was like real early and was 4 or 5 days a week with WWE. So
There's a common theme. It's like WCW gave you a taste, and then it's full blown. WWE gave you a taste, and it's like your main roster, just full blown.
yeah,
So that's got to be cool. Like, you're chasing your dream, and then boom, you're just main roster right as you go in there.
yeah. But that's not. That took me getting fired first in 2 years in Japan to get.
Hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Like he's like, oh, I just get it right away. I don't know because HWA and then
Hmm.
2.5 years in All Japan to get to finally get to that
Hmm.
position where it's like, oh yeah, we want you back, and then oh, Ray is wrestling Tajiri at the pay per view, and we want you guys to get involved with finish, help Tajiri go over, and then things start rolling. So
Is there any particular moments, what run you were with WWE that really means something to you specifically, like in WCW?
like I'm a WCW guy, so
Hmm.
like that was I went I came back as a Keo. It's not because I wanted to be in WWE. It's because I wanted to be home at least once a
Hmm.
week to see my daughter. So like everything was you know was a job. Was a job and I loved it. Like but like the I grew up a WCW guy. So like you know I don't know to answer your question.
What, like, is there any particular matches or moments in WWE that stand out more than others for you?
Yeah, like, and that's the thing. The one that stands out the most to me is when I had to wrestle Rey Mysterio in single
Hmm.
match. But like that's like okay, that's the bar, right? Like
Hmm.
that's you. If you're a cruiserweight, that's the main dude. So like, can you go out there and go toe to toe with this guy? And now I love my matches with Ray, and like anybody asks me about, hey, what match should I watch of yours? And first match is a Keo versus Rey Mysterio. I know a lot of people like the Paul London matches, but those matches like hurt more than I remember them. I was like, man, we just beat the shit out of each other, and just kind of get noticed by the higher ups to use us more, So like, but uh, but also I just remember my return back to Japan with WWE as a Keo.
Hmm.
That was crazy. Like I'm supposed to be the bad guy tonight, and my music hits, and that place goes crazy. I'm like, oh my goodness, I was like, I wasn't expecting this, like I was like, and then all of a sudden it sold out Saitama Super Arena, and all of a sudden it was like, Kyo, Kyo. I'm like, man, like I really want to turn babyface. Like I say, if I got a job to do, I got to get these people to hate me, like because Paul London's a babyface, and we did, but like I just that's the first major pop
Hmm.
that I got in my life, like that music is so so pretty awesome,
How was it becoming Jimmy Wang Yang? Because everyone seems to love that character that you portrayed.
yeah, that's the one that got me uh 5 action figures, baseball cards, a video game, like and like gave me my moment in wrestling, like a
Hmm.
lot, like I'm Jimmy Wang Yang, I'm your boy, so like it's like something. And so every wrestler kind of wants to be some featured act and that
Hmm.
gets on video games and action figures, baseball cards, and all that kind of stuff. And that's what Jimmy Wang Yang got me. Like so I loved it. I had a great time that run, and but now I'm always remembered as the Asian redneck. Like nobody remembers Akio, All Japan, WCW, TNA. They all remember the Asian redneck Jimmy Wang Yang. I'm your boy. Yeah.
So when your release came, was it something you expected that you saw coming, and did you know that you were going to continue to pursue professional wrestling?
Yeah, I was at that time, like because I was running hard as
Hmm.
Jimmy Wang Yang, and was getting definitely burnt out. So they're pretty good at picking up stuff before others do. Like I needed to be gone because I was kind of spiraling out of control. Like I didn't have the same kind of passion. I was burnt out. I was hurt. Like like people don't know once you become one of those featured acts is like just nonstop. Blah, 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 blah,
Hmm.
blah, 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 blah. So like but like I kind of knew it was coming, like I was not in good mindset, but I still going out there doing great matches or good matches and do my job, but like I was I was burnt out at that time.
So, what did you do after your release?
So after my release, there's a few things I did. I did go back to Japan, but then my wrestling career, like I really enjoyed my career. I got signed early, wrestled through my 20s, and then started businesses during my 30s and did it from then to now, But like Jimmy Redneck Party Bus, so started a party bus company in Cincinnati, and went really really well, So like it was still going. Jimmy Redneck Party Bus. Yeehaw. Give us a call. You need a party bus. So I had a Redneck Party Bus, a Princess Bus, a Bengals bus, like a limo. It was really good. So
What have you been up to? So you did the party bus. You did some. You opened a school. You were really involved with your daughter's career too for the last couple of years. How was it seeing her wrestling? Was there any regrets, or was it something you were completely supportive of her getting
yeah,
into?
Yeah, like only thing that matters to me is if my daughter's happy, So like, and she chose to be a professional wrestler, and it's like the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I like even her debut. She got debut at 15 in Tokyo,
Hmm.
beat Shannon Moore's ass. Like it was like, and so it's crazy because she's an athlete. I've always seen her, always watched her from the stands, but like it's just a different feel when like your daughter is fighting or wrestling
Hmm.
and performing in front of this crowd, and like then all of a sudden she's like beating it was awesome, like bam, hitting Shannon, like give him some forearms and hit that head scissors and place goes crazy. I'm like, I was like, oh my god, being just being dad and being more like just
Hmm.
freaking out because like as a kid, like your daughter, your son or whatever, like I feel like I can feel what they feel and I can hurt when they hurt, and it's like it was just like it's crazy, and she's the prettiest, the meanest, the baddest mofo no down around here. She's the show yang of wrestling, Jazzy Yang. So I'm just very proud of her. So like
What What are you up to today?
so today James Young's time dropped today. The first book of James Young, the audio book on Spotify and Apple. The book's on Amazon. So today I'm doing that. Got 5 other interviews after this. And then still teaching wrestling on the side in the backyard. I got Yang's Dojo. You want to become a professional wrestler? You're in Atlanta. Hit me up there. I got so much going on. So, but it's busy.
What was it that made you decide to do a book?
Uh, so a few people that kind of know my story, they say, "Man, like you really need to write a book." Like it's like I don't want to be. I don't know. I don't want to put myself out there. Like it's they know my history and knows how fucked up my childhood was and how many obstacles that I had to get through to eat. Really,
Hmm.
not just to wrestle, but just to eat. So like I said, no, I don't want to put that out there. My mom's like in a cult, like I haven't seen my dad and or talked to my dad, and I don't know when's the last time I talked to him. I have 3 sisters and a brother. I have about 6 stepdads. Like it's like all this stuff. So it's like I didn't really want to put out there, but like, uh, but I got convinced. I said, dude, your
Hmm.
story's pretty awesome. Like you had all this crap happen to you when you was younger, like, and then you made it, so that help others that are in the same situation to believe in themselves that they
Hmm.
can do it. It's like, so it's like, yeah, that's, and that's
Hmm.
what got me. I said, well, I guess I could, if I, I don't know if it could help somebody, it's great. Like that's
Hmm.
kind of, you know, why I put it out there. Oh,
If
well,
you
I got convinced to put it out there.
if you had any advice to give to anybody getting into professional wrestling, what would it be?
Mm. Main thing is just find like a really good coach, like a real coach, so like somebody that's not going to try to take advantage of you or give you bad advice, like just a real coach, like is like to guide you along this crazy world of professional wrestling because there's a lot of characters in this business.
Hmm.
Um, but that's the thing is hopefully get good guidance. I wish I had guidance, but I wish I had better guidance to, have a, you know, better retirement
Hmm.
plan. So,
Where can people reach out to you at?
yeah, it's all on the socials, but like if you want to hit me up, Ryan already knows you gotta go to jazzyyang.com first. So, like, gotta get to the daughter to get to me, So like jazzyyang.com, all her socials on there, and if you want to get to me, you gotta go through her. So it's like, so that's the main thing. So
Well, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out, sir. Thank you for what you've done for professional wrestling and what you continue to do. I'm glad that we finally got to be able to sit down and chat a little bit about your career and talk about your book that came out.
yeah, thanks, Brian, and remember, I'm Jimmy Wang Yang. I'm always your boy. Yeah.
If there's ever anything that I can do, please feel free to reach out.
Okay, cool.